The infinite menu, and the paralysis of desire. Have you ever found yourself on a food delivery app at 11 at night, genuinely hungry, scrolling for 25 minutes, unable to order anything? Sushi looks good, but what if pizza is better? The Chinese place has high ratings, but is it worth the delivery fee? Then you close the app, eat some stale bread, and go to bed frustrated. Congratulations, you've just simulated your love life. Welcome to the great paradox of the 21st century. We've never had so many options, and yet we've never been so incapable of choosing. In 2000, psychologist Barry Schwartz coined the term the paradox of choice and proved the obvious truth we often ignore. More options don't lead to more satisfaction. They lead to anxiety, paralysis, and that chronic feeling you've made the wrong choice. Think about it. When faced with an overwhelming number of options, our brains struggle to commit, constantly second-guessing whether a better alternative exists just around the corner. Sheena Iyengar, a researcher at Columbia, set up a jam tasting table at a supermarket. When there were 6 options, 30% of people bought jam. When there were 24, only 3% did. Abundance doesn't liberate, it paralyzes. It creates a mental burden, a constant calculation of opportunity cost. Every choice feels like a sacrifice of countless other potentially better choices. Apply this to Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, or whatever platform you're using to pretend you're meeting people. You're not meeting people. You're managing an infinite catalog of possibilities designed never to be exhausted. Each right swipe is a micro bet. Each unanswered match is a reminder that you might have something better to do. And every conversation that dies after 3 messages is proof that no one there is truly looking for someone. They're looking for validation, for the confirmation that they are desirable. The actual date is almost an afterthought. Soren Kierkegaard, way back in the 19th century, without Wi-Fi or ghosting, had already diagnosed this ailment. He called it the anguish of freedom. The idea is simple. When you can choose anything, the weight of choice becomes unbearable. Because choosing one thing means killing all the others. Dating Laura means not dating Fernanda, Camila, and that mysterious redhead you'll never meet. But who might have been the one? Commitment is the funeral of possibilities, and you, raised in a culture that venerates open doors, don't know how to mourn. So you procrastinate, you delay, you set up a date and then cancel. You even meet someone great and then search for some fatal flaw to justify your escape. They chew too loudly, he takes too long to text back, her laugh is weird. You become an emotional quality inspector, looking for reasons to return the product before even opening the packaging. Not because people are inherently bad, but because the next swipe might be better. And if it isn't, the next one after that might be. Hope becomes a curse that keeps you running on a treadmill, going nowhere. What's most insidious is that you know this. You read the articles, you watch the videos, you nod your head in agreement. I doubt I'm the first person to tell you this. But at night, in the dark, you open the app again, because the dopamine hit of what if is more addictive than the reality of this is it. You don't want a relationship. You want the eternal sensation that the perfect relationship is just a swipe away. The hero's journey without the annoying part of facing the dragon. It's the thrill of the chase, perpetually prolonged, without the actual capture. Kierkegaard said that anguish is the price of freedom, but that traversing it was the only path to a meaningful life. The problem is, he didn't have an algorithm optimized to keep him precisely at the threshold of anguish. Too comfortable to act, too anxious to rest. You're not single because you lacked options. You're single because too many options became the perfect excuse to never choose anything. Love is a product, and you, the shelf stalker. Let me ask you, how did you describe your last crush to your friend? She's pretty, has a good job, lives alone, isn't too needy, likes to travel. Do you notice what you did? You read a spec sheet, listed attributes like someone comparing 2 vacuum cleaners on Amazon. All that was missing was mentioning the voltage and if it comes with an extended warranty. Don't blame yourself. You've been trained for this. We've been conditioned to evaluate potential partners as if they were commodities, a collection of features to be weighed against a mental checklist. Zygmunt Bauman, the Polish sociologist who spent his life dissecting modernity, had a term for this mess: liquid love. The idea is that relationships have become disposable because we've learned to treat people like consumer goods. You don't commit to a phone. You use it until a new model comes out. And if the relationship malfunctions prematurely, you exchange it. No stress. After all, being stuck with a bad choice is for suckers, right? This mentality, fueled by the endless options, makes genuine connection feel like a burden rather than a blessing. Karl Marx never dated on Tinder, but he explained this mechanism in 1867. He called it the fetishism of commodities, the process by which we forget that products are made by people and instead see only the object, the price, the exchange value. You look at a t-shirt and don't think of the seamstress in Bangladesh. You look at coffee and don't think of the Colombian farmer. Now you look at a dating profile and don't think of a human being with fears, a history, and contradictions. You think of a package of characteristics. Will this person add value to my life? Add value, as if we were portfolio investments. This dehumanizing perspective turns potential partners into mere means to an end, rather than ends in themselves. You, too, have become a product. Every photo of you on the app is an advertisement. Every bio is a slogan. You are selling yourself. Did you choose the photo with the perfect lighting? Write the description that seems spontaneous but was edited 4 times. Did you mention you like good conversations and travel? Because that sounds interesting without committing to anything. You are your own marketing department, and the product is the version of yourself that someone might want to consume. The 19th century meat market was more honest. At least the butcher didn't pretend the steak had personality. The result of this logic is a perpetual negotiation where no one closes the deal. You evaluate, compare, calculate. I like them, but can't I find someone better? This isn't your paranoia, it's the architecture of the system. Dating apps are designed for you to never be satisfied. Satisfaction means an inactive user. An inactive user doesn't see ads, doesn't pay for premium features, doesn't generate data. The business model depends on your frustration. You are not the customer. You are the product being sold to yourself. This constant pursuit of the better option creates a perpetual state of dissatisfaction, making genuine connection almost impossible. Eva Illouz, a Moroccan sociologist who studies emotional capitalism, coined the term marital markets. She shows that since the 16th century, we've been negotiating marriage as an economic transaction. The difference is that before, families negotiated dowries and land. Today, you negotiate alone in the dark of your room at 2 a.m. with an algorithm that knows more about your desires than you do. And the most absurd part of it all? We complain about loneliness while treating human connection as a strategic acquisition. You want someone who completes you, who adds to your life, who fits your optimized lifestyle. You don't want a partner. You want a functional accessory that doesn't disrupt your optimized routine. This transactional approach strips relationships of their inherent emotional value, reducing them to a series of cost-benefit analyses. Bauman died in 2017, but he left a diagnosis you should tattoo on your arm. Loneliness produces insecurity, but so do relationships. In a relationship, you can feel just as insecure as without one. Only now, it's your fault. You're in the market, and the market doesn't love you back. This is the generation that confused vulnerability with weakness. Do you want intimacy? Of course you do. Everyone does. It's biological, it's evolutionary. It's why babies die if they're not touched, even if they receive food. But then someone sends you a sweet message, shows genuine interest, opens up, and what do you feel? A shiver of dread running down your spine. Whoa, this is too intense. You take 2 steps back, take 3 days to reply, and eventually let it die. Then you complain you can't find anyone real. This fear of genuine connection, this retreat from vulnerability, is a self-fulfilling prophecy, pushing away the very intimacy we crave. Schopenhauer, the pessimistic German philosopher you pretend to know, created a perfect metaphor for this in the 19th century. The hedgehog's dilemma. On a cold day, hedgehogs need to huddle together to avoid freezing, but when they get too close, their quills prick each other. They pull away and freeze again. Their whole lives are this miserable back and forth, trying to find the exact distance between chilling loneliness and wounding intimacy. Schopenhauer thought humans were the same. He just didn't imagine we'd turn our quills into an identity and call it being independent. Look at the vocabulary that dominated the last decade. I'm enough for myself. I don't need anyone to be happy. Me first, then the world. T-shirt slogans that sound like empowerment but function as armor. You've built an emotional fortress so sophisticated that no one can get in. Congratulations, you won. Now enjoy the victory alone, king of the empty castle. This hyper-individualism, while seemingly empowering, often leads to profound isolation as it prioritizes self-sufficiency over the inherent human need for connection. Brené Brown spent 20 years researching shame and vulnerability at the University of Houston. She interviewed thousands of people and discovered something that should be obvious, but apparently requires a PhD to validate. Human connection requires vulnerability. There are no shortcuts, no hacks. You can't truly love someone while keeping all your emergency exits open. And guess what else she discovered? People who described themselves as highly independent were statistically the loneliest and least satisfied with their relationships. The armor works. It protects you, but it protects you from everything, including what you truly wanted. It's a shield that keeps out both pain and joy, leaving you safe but unfulfilled. But why on earth did we become like this? Part of it is collective trauma. You grew up seeing your parents' marriages crumble, saw people destroy themselves for love. You learned that depending on someone is a recipe for catastrophe. Part of it is culture. Since the 80s, individualism has become a secular religion. Movies, music, self-help, everything repeats the mantra. You are the protagonist of your story, and you owe nothing to anyone. Needing someone became a sign of immaturity. Admitting neediness became public shame. The modern ideal is the armored individual who loves just enough, who never needs more, who is always chill. This cultural narrative, while promoting self-reliance, inadvertently demonizes interdependence, making it difficult to form deep, lasting bonds. Psychologist Amir Levine calls this avoidant attachment. It's an attachment style that affects about 25% of the population. People who desire intimacy but flee when it appears, who interpret closeness as a threat, who sabotage good relationships because too good feels like a trap. In the past, this was seen as a problem, something to be addressed. Today, we've put it on a pedestal and called it self-love. But the ugly truth is, vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the only door that exists. You can stay outside your whole life, safe and hidden, complaining that no one understands you. Or you can accept that intimacy is indeed a risk, that loving is like lending someone a knife and hoping not to get stabbed. It's a leap of faith, a willingness to be seen and potentially hurt for the chance of profound connection. Schopenhauer thought we were condemned to the hedgehog's dilemma, that there was no solution. But he died alone, bitter, with only a dog for company. Perhaps he's not the best example to follow. His philosophy, while insightful, lacked the understanding of human resilience and the transformative power of shared vulnerability. We are not merely animals driven by instinct. We are capable of conscious choice and growth. The social media courtroom. Do you remember the last good date you had? That dinner that flowed, the conversation that never stalled, the kiss at the end that felt just right. Do you remember what you did when you got home? You opened Instagram to see if the person had posted anything. You checked who liked their photos, analyzed their stories to decipher if you appeared anywhere in their public narrative. The date was real, but it only counted if it also existed in the digital storefront. This constant need for external validation, for our experiences to be publicly curated, diminishes the intrinsic value of the moment itself. Guy Debord, a grumpy Frenchman who wrote a book called The Society of the Spectacle in 1967. His thesis was simple and prophetic. Modern life has transformed into a representation of itself. We no longer live experiences. We produce images of experiences. What matters isn't what happens, but what appears to happen. Debord wrote this before cell phones existed, before the internet, before you took 14 selfies to post one. The guy was an irritated prophet, and we proved him right. We've become both the performers and the audience in our own lives, constantly aware of how our actions will be perceived. Now think about what this does to relationships. You no longer date a person. You date a curated profile, a collection of edited moments, a version of someone optimized for public consumption. And worse, you've become that too, that spontaneous photo that took 20 tries, the unfiltered caption that went through 3 revisions. You're selling a fiction of yourself and buying the fiction of others. 2 advertisements trying to fall in love. This performative aspect of modern relationships creates a disconnect between the authentic self and the presented self, making genuine intimacy elusive. Irving Goffman, a Canadian sociologist, called this the presentation of self in everyday life. In 1959, he compared social interaction to theater. Everyone has a stage and a backstage. On stage, we act, perform, control the impression we make. Backstage, we relax, take off the mask. We exist authentically. The problem is that social media has abolished the backstage. Now it's a stage all the time. You're always on stage, even alone in your room. The invisible audience never leaves. This audience judges. It judges if your relationship looks good enough. It judges if your couple photos are up to par. It judges the speed of likes, the quality of comments, the frequency of public appearances. You are dating under the constant surveillance of an audience that doesn't know you but opines as if they did. An algorithm decides if your love deserves reach or oblivion. This constant scrutiny and the pressure to maintain a perfect public image can erode the very foundation of a relationship, turning private moments into public performances. A 2014 study from the University of Missouri showed a direct correlation between Facebook use and marital dissatisfaction. The more time online, the more jealousy, more surveillance, more arguments about things that happen on screen, not in real life. In 2023, research with young couples shows that discussions about social media, who liked what, why didn't you tag me, who is this person in your followers, are among the top 3 sources of conflict. You're fighting with someone of flesh and blood because of digital ghosts. The spectacle demands an entrance fee, and the price is real intimacy. Real intimacy is messy. It's you hung over on a Monday. It's the silly fight over dirty dishes. It's the comfortable silence that doesn't make for a good photo. None of this performs well. None of this generates likes. So you hide it. And if you hide the real, what's left? 2 people who love each other in public and are strangers in private. A relationship that exists more to be seen than to be lived. The digital performance overshadows the authentic experience, leaving both partners feeling unseen and unheard. The pornification of expectations. Calm down. It's not just about sex. Or rather, it's not only about sex. It's about what happened to your brain after years of consuming everything in concentrated doses of maximum stimulation. You no longer watch movies. You watch them at 1.5x speed while scrolling on your phone. You don't listen to music. You skip the intro, skip the verse, go straight to the chorus, and get bored after the second play. You don't eat. You devour content delivery, series, news, memes, all swallowed without chewing. Your nervous system has been hijacked by an attention economy that needs to keep you addicted to exist. And then you try to date a real person, of flesh, bone, morning moods, and conversations that sometimes go nowhere. Good luck. The constant barrage of hyper-stimulating content has rewired our brains, making us impatient with the slow, nuanced pace of real-life interactions. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter of desire, not pleasure. It fires in anticipation, in novelty, in the what-if. Neuroimaging studies show that the human brain releases more dopamine in the face of the unexpected than from the reward itself. Casinos know this. Social media knows this. Dating apps have built billion-dollar empires on this. Every swipe is a slot machine. The game is designed for you to never stop pulling the lever. The problem is, a real relationship is the opposite of novelty. It's repetition, routine. It's the same person in the same bed telling the same story you've heard 17 times, and your brain, addicted to peaks of stimulation, looks at this and screams, "This is broken! Where's the excitement? Where's the rush? Where's the next episode?" This constant craving for novelty makes the steady, comforting rhythm of a long-term relationship feel dull and unsatisfying. Nietzsche, in the 19th century, prophesied what he called the last man, a creature of the future who would have abandoned all risk, all greatness, all struggle in exchange for comfort and endless small pleasures. "We have invented happiness," these last men would say, blinking contentedly while their lives emptied of meaning. Nietzsche found this pathetic. You find this on a Tuesday. The last man doesn't want to love. He wants the feeling of loving without the cost of loving. He wants the butterflies in the stomach of the first date, repeated infinitely, without ever traversing the tedious valley where real relationships are built. This pursuit of superficial pleasure over profound connection leaves us perpetually unfulfilled.
Alain de Botton, a contemporary Swiss philosopher who made a career translating uncomfortable truths into digestible language, has a phrase that should be on the door of every registry office. Marriage is the decision to exchange the freedom to desire everyone for the commitment to care for one. It's not romantic, it's not sexy, it's true. And truth doesn't go viral. See the irony? The same generation that binged 10 seasons of a show over a weekend can't sustain interest in one person for 10 weeks. The same people who fiercely defend their beliefs give up on relationships at the first dip in rhythm. You've been trained for constant intensity, and constant intensity is a biological lie. It doesn't exist, never has, not even drugs can maintain it. A lasting relationship requires a skill that has become almost extinct: tolerating boredom, staying when it's not exciting, traversing the plateau without bailing, thinking the mountain is over. It's not conformity. It's not less than you deserve. It's the only way to build something that time won't take away. But you look at the plateau, compare it to the memory of the peak, and open the app again. The machine thanks you. Your brain demands more spins. The jackpot never comes, but you can't stop playing. This inability to embrace the mundane, the quiet moments, is a significant barrier to building deep, enduring relationships. Beyond the algorithm, reclaiming connection. What's left when the cynicism ends? You've made it this far. You've endured these 5 rounds of relentless diagnosis. And now what do you expect? That I'll tie everything up with a pretty bow, that a secret formula will appear, a redeeming insight, your 5 steps to finding true love? I don't have it. No one does. Anyone who says they do is selling you something. But I do have a piece of news that might offer some twisted comfort. It's always been like this. Not Tinder, not Instagram, not platform capitalism, that's new. But the fundamental difficulty of loving another human being, that's as old as bones. The challenges of connection are not entirely new. They are amplified and reshaped by modern technology, but the core human struggle remains. Erich Fromm, a German psychoanalyst who fled Nazism and spent his life trying to understand why people hurt each other so much, wrote a book in 1956 called The Art of Loving. His central thesis is this: we treat love as a noun when we should treat it as a verb. You don't find love, you practice love every day with effort, the same way you learn piano or carpentry. And just as no one expects to play Chopin in their first lesson, no one should expect deep intimacy without years of deliberate practice. Love isn't a talent, it's a discipline. And discipline isn't sexy, it doesn't go viral, it doesn't fit into a story. Fromm died in 1980. He didn't see any of what we've discussed here, but he understood the central problem. We want to be loved, not to love. We want to receive, not to give. We want the reward without the work, and then we complain that the market is bad while never leaving the sidelines. This passive approach to love, this expectation of effortless connection, is fundamentally at odds with the reality of building a meaningful relationship. Simone de Beauvoir, The French philosopher who invented existentialist feminism while living through some of the most complicated relationships in the history of philosophy had another formulation. For her, love isn't destiny, it's a project. You don't find the right person and live happily ever after. You choose an imperfect person and build something together, brick by brick, fight by fight, reconciliation by reconciliation. Romanticism sold us the idea that love is discovery. Beauvoir knew that love is invention. Invention takes work, it fails, it requires constant revision. It's a dynamic process, not a static state, demanding continuous effort and adaptation from both partners. Albert Camus, the Algerian who won the Nobel Prize in Literature while smoking more than he should, spent his life thinking about the absurd. His conclusion was strangely hopeful. Life has no inherent meaning, but we can live anyway. We can create meaning in the act of living. We don't need cosmic guarantees. We don't need certainty. We need the courage to continue, even knowing that the end is the same for everyone. Apply this to relationships. There are no guarantees. You can do everything right and still get stabbed. You can open up and be betrayed. You can choose and regret it. The risk is real. And the only alternative to risk is the paralysis you already know well, the one that leaves you safe and empty at the same time. This embrace of the absurd, this acceptance of inherent uncertainty, is crucial for navigating the complexities of love.
So no, there's no single solution. I only have an honest diagnosis and a choice you'll have to make alone. Either you continue optimizing your loneliness with technological excuses, or you accept that love has always been a leap in the dark and you jump anyway. The apps won't save you, but they're not the real problem either. The problem is that you want light at the end of the tunnel before entering the tunnel, and it doesn't work that way. It never has. From again to close, love is the only sane and satisfactory answer to the problem of human existence. It's not easy. It's not guaranteed. It doesn't come with a manual, but it's the only door that exists. It's a call to action, a challenge to embrace the messy, unpredictable, yet ultimately rewarding journey of genuine human connection. The choice, as always, is yours.